I just watched the new Muppet special, which acts as a return to the original format of the original Muppet show, clearly with the intention to get a full series going. And I have a lot of feelings and a lot of thoughts. I feel many ways, and I was tempted to just sit on it for a while, to just chew on the whole thing, maybe watch through it a few more times and take the time to put together a more like comprehensive review or something. But like, I don't know. I think I would rather just kind of start talking and see what comes out. Cause like, it's just such a strange thing. And maybe I would rather kind of capture this moment, this feeling. I won't go into too much of my Muppet fandom history. I already talked about a lot of it over in a recent video on Topic Arlo, talking about just when they released the first full trailer of this special. But like the short version is I've not really reacted much to like a lot of these like Muppet developments recently, just because like I've been through this whole process so many times. The way I put it is, just because a project is announced, that doesn't mean it's going to materialize. Just because it materializes, that doesn't mean it's going to be good. Even if it is good, that doesn't mean that it's going to get picked up for more. And even if it is good and is picked up for more, that doesn't mean that it's not going to just fail again immediately after. Disney does not know what to do with the Muppets. They've never really known what to do with the Muppets. They've never really understood the Muppets, and so we've had just these projects have been all over the place. The quality's been all over the place. Mainly just like the writing and the understanding of the characters has been all over the place. You've had a lot of really great productions. You've had a lot of really not great productions. We've had these ups and downs. And as for like revitalizing, like rebooting the franchise, 2011, that movie basically was this. We already went through the whole returning to the theater, recreating the opening sequence. Oh, the Muppets are back, and it was great. And then everything just kind of crashed again. So yeah, I'm this old, jaded Muppet fan. So it's like it's hard for me to really get too excited about anything until I see it for myself. And even when I do see it for myself, like it's such a thing. And it's one reason why I have so many feelings right now about this. Reception to it has been very good. Well, let's just start there. People are really enjoying this. Like, from what I've seen and heard, it's going over really well. Like, critical reception, I don't know what like the streaming numbers are. I don't know if that's ultimately what matters more to Disney. How many people signed up for Disney Plus to watch this? I don't know. But if you just go by critical reception, I think there's a really, really good chance that it is going to get picked up for at least a season. Like just at least a 10-episode run. It's so much easier to greenlight things these days. It's not this huge, massive production. You got to do 26 episodes per season or whatever. Like, nah, like you could just like do 10 and you'll be good. So hopefully it does get picked up. But one of the reasons I have been feeling so conflicted is, again, I kind of go into it a bit in that other video, but like, people have been saying that the Muppets should just return to the old format. Like, they've been saying it forever. Like, pretty much ever since the Muppets started to struggle under the hand of the Disney, people are like, why don't you just do the original show again? Just do it again. Because, they've returned with a few different shows over the years, mainly the ABC sitcom and Muppets Tonight. And that was kind of an attempt to, like, each one was kind of modernizing the idea of like a Muppet variety show. The original was a vaudeville flavored, but still like 60s, 70s kind of variety show. And everyone's been saying, just do that again. And I've never been convinced that that is the right move. I've just never been completely convinced that that would work. I think it's too easy to say that it would work without really knowing that it would. So often we have this nostalgia for something and we're like, oh, if you just did the same thing again, it would be just as good as before. But like, we're kind of blinded by nostalgia sometimes. So coming away from this, now that I have seen it, I think the feelings of I do have some conflicted feelings still. I still don't know if it is the right move. Even now, even seeing that people, that the reception has been so good and people are loving it so much, there's still that part of me. Maybe it is just because I've been through this so many times. I've been a Muppet fan for so long. Maybe I feel like I have to be extra careful. But even now, I'm looking at this and I'm like, this was good, but like, can they actually carry this into a full series or even just a full season? Is that novelty gonna still be there? It really does just come down to like, how much do people just like watching the Muppets do stuff? You know? Because like, that's a really, really big important part, because a lot of this special, like I'll talk about more about like the overall quality and what I thought about it in a minute. But like a lot of it is just kind of like low-key funny, you know, a lot of just kind of like, okay, you know, it's a cute, you know, I mean, it's a lot like the original show. It's a classic and it's this very, very loved thing. But a lot of the original show did have a lot of like just kind of lame jokes, you know, like it's just kind of like, I don't know, just put something there. Like you gotta put a joke. So put a joke, and there's a good amount of that here. And so that's where I'm like, all right, but like, can the rest of it be propped up by just like the fact that it's fun to watch Muppets? I don't know, because if that were the case, then a lot of other projects would have done a lot better. But generally, if it's not packaged in just the right way, and if it's not funny enough, if it's not just the jokes are funny enough, then it tends to not work. Nobody really knows exactly what makes a Muppet project work or not work. It's not really consistent, and the Muppets, just as a concept, it's so old-fashioned. It was popular so long ago when the entire industry and all of the viewers, it was just, everything was in such a different place, you know? So like, this here, is this good? Is this entertaining enough? Can this actually capture an audience? Or is it just a fun little novel, nostalgic flash in the pan kind of thing? And we all watch it and we say, this is great, you gotta just do this. And then they put out a full thing and it doesn't work. So I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be focusing on that so much. I should probably just be looking at the quality of the thing itself. I just can't help it. I have to. I absolutely have to. I cannot just watch this as a thing. Like my brain, I gotta consider, is this the right move for the Muppets? Can this actually work? It's kind of in the background, in the back of my mind the whole time. And that's not even to say that like I'm doubting it. I'm not telling you that I think the answer is no necessarily. I really don't know. I think maybe that's what's getting me so like feeling weird about it, is just like, I don't know. That's this strange, like unresolved kind of liminal, conflicted, floaty space I'm in right now. And while I'm watching, it's just like, I don't know. So we should just talk about the special itself. Yeah, I mean, it is nothing if not old-fashioned. Like they basically took the idea of like, let's do the original again. You know, obviously it is a modern version of it. You have celebrities who are currently alive. You know, like it is a modern production. But format-wise, it is the old show through and through, which, I mean, obviously is a delight. Again, we did get some of this like recreation stuff in the 2011 movie, but this was a lot more. This put a much bigger focus on recreating the look and the feel and the style of the original series. They're doing the whole thing in an old dusty theater with that little audience, like basically the same size that it was in the original. All of the sets are actually like theater sets, which is really charming. I mean, like, come on, like seeing this format, but modernized, that there really is a novelty to that. Because I mean, you know, we all complain about it, like just entertainment overall. It's gotten like too good, you know, like visuals are now too good. Just like movies and shows, there's so much visual information going on, and the technology is so good, and the cameras are so good, and everything is so sharp and colorful, and there's so much, there's just such a charm to old media. And of course, something like the Muppets, like real puppets, you don't get a lot of that anymore. You really don't, you know? Like, kids would rather just watch like CG characters. Outside of like the Jim Henson Company, there's not a lot of real, genuine, like IRL puppetry going on. And even there, like most of their shows are just like CG shows too. So like real puppets, it is very old fashioned. And I love how much this leaned into that, because as we go forward and as so many of us, especially, the older folks, but even younger ones too, start to recognize there's so much charm to these old styles. So I love how much they leaned into this. It absolutely just is them doing the old show again, basically in every possible way. Obviously little bits and pieces of newer effects here and there just to help them to pull off gags. But for the most part, no. It's sets, it's practical effects, it's just a bunch of good old-fashioned genuine puppetry, and even more. This was really nice. I want to say it was Steve Whitmire. Maybe it was around, I don't know, one of the, from about 10 years ago, we had the new movies and the show and everything. And I want to say it was him who mentioned that Disney was weird about the arm rods, the rods that attach to the arms so that the performers can, articulate the arms. You see the sticks. And Disney was weird about it. When Disney bought the Muppets, they wanted to sell these characters as real, or maybe they just wanted to modernize it. Maybe they just thought the look of seeing the sticks was too old-fashioned. But one of the things that made production harder was that they insisted on masking out all of the arm rods in every single shot, no matter what, no matter how many puppets were on screen. And that was a very expensive and time-consuming process, and they did not do that here. I don't know who ultimately made that decision. I don't know if that's something that Seth Rogen or someone else may have pushed for, but it makes it so much more charming. Just seeing all those arm rods, I it's a small detail, and yet it's another one of those things that's just they did not modernize it too much. It's got so much of that old-fashioned charm. And the overall format, it's the same as always. It's Kermit, and he's in the back, and he's trying to figure out the schedule and who gets to go on. Of course, Piggy wants to have a big number, and he's trying to tell her that her number is canceled, and so that's funny. Everyone is always competing to get stage time. The implication that Seth Rogen had an act and it got cut is very, very funny. It's cool that he executive produced this whole thing, and yet he really only just had barely any screen time at all. He really did kind of take a back seat, and I think that was very big of him, because he totally could have used this as a vehicle for himself. He could have been the guy. He could have been the celebrity guest, essentially. He could have been in half the show, but he didn't, because Sabrina Carpenter was the guest, and then Maya Rudolph had a funny little side bit. So no, he stepped aside and he let them carry the show. And the Muppets themselves, even Sabrina Carpenter didn't get in the way that much, because just like the original Muppet show, you have your guest star, but they're not the entire point. And especially in more modern stuff, with Disney, if you gotta get the guest star, somebody that the kids are gonna recognize. You want to give them as much screen time as possible. But here, the Muppets really were the stars of the show. And oh man, the Muppets. Oh, the Muppets. There were so many Muppets here. They did such a good job of pulling from all of the classic Muppets. It was so, we've seen them over the years. They've done a pretty good job of keeping the same ones in the background, but it was still really nice. They did the pig, they were the pigs in wigs or whatever. It was kind of a throwback to the old, was it at the dance, the ballroom sketches, but it's all the same background pigs that we've seen all these years, the same exact background pigs from the original show. You got Pops is there, Wayne and Wanda are in the background, Johnny Fiamma and Sal. Loved seeing a lot of the more modern Muppets. Modern, quote unquote, 90s, but still, we didn't I love that they've brought back Johnny Fiamma and Sal. Never thought they ever would, but they brought them back for Haunted Mansion, and they're still here. They didn't have any speaking parts because Brian Henson plays Sal, and he's not gonna want to do that very often. He's got his own stuff going on, but it was still really, really cool to see them, and then seeing Bobo and Pepe in the context of the old format. Really neat. All the greats were there, and then and Rizzo. Oh man, we have not seen Rizzo since Steve Whitmire left the crew, and it's so good to see him back. He's got his own whole song, and it's hard to really get a read on how accurate. I don't know. I haven't looked it up. I don't know who's doing him. Maybe is it Frankie Cordero? Is he the one who picked up Wembley. I can't remember. But it's hard to get a read on how good the, if you want to call it an impression, the voice is, how accurate it is, because he's singing. But I will say that, like, even despite that fact, it's pretty darn accurate. Like, whoever's doing it has really got just, like, the timbre and, like, the particular just way that the voice vibrates in the back of the mouth, you know? Like, it's very, very good. And it's also just, of course, delightful to see Rizzo again. Really, really miss the guy. But yeah, loads of classic characters. And on the topic of Muppet performers, looking at the credits, it is awesome to see how many people they pulled together for this. Like, this was clearly a very, very big production for them. They got the whole gang together, you know? They had all of, like, the principal Muppet performers that we normally get. But then they pulled in, they pulled in performers from Jim Henson Company, Sesame Street. I know all these people. They're all good friends, and they've worked together on a bunch of stuff. But it's still just really nice to see them all kind of coming together because, you know, legally they are distinct. The Jim Henson Company performers usually are kind of doing that thing, but a bunch of them are here. Matt Vogel had a podcast called Below the Frame where he interviewed Muppet performers and people involved in Muppet related stuff. And so many of those names are here in the credits. And even Jackson Beretta, I believe that is Bill Beretta's son, did some sort of supporting puppetry. But yeah, just like so many names here. They're all here. John Tartaglia, Leslie Carrara Rudolph, Marty Robinson, just like everybody. Tyler Bunch, Drew Massey. Like it's so nice to see. It's such a love letter. And like, sure, there is that lingering feeling that like this is a really big opportunity for them. And it's kind of nerve-wracking, and like Kermit really carries that. I mean, I suppose you could interpret it as him just really wanting to put on a good show and feeling kind of rusty, but it has the extra meaning of wanting this to do well enough that it gets picked up for a full thing, and it's very tangible, that feeling throughout the whole thing, and it really does instill it with a certain kind of delicate. Kind of like a sweetness, you know? The Muppets have always had a sweetness about them, a kind of like childlike vulnerability. And seeing that here, it's very pure, and it is rather moving, you know? And like at the end, it all kind of comes to a head, and it's a real moment, and like it's hard not to get swept up in it. It's hard, and you know, especially with like the music, all the little musical cues, they're weaving in all of these themes from over the years. It's so easy to get swept up in just the years and years, the decades, the generations of just this thing, this thing that the Muppets are and where they've been and where they're going, and this desire for it to work, this intense desire for it to just work, for them to find their footing again. We've just been waiting for them to find their footing again, or to find the footing and keep the footing. And again, yeah, I don't know. Is this the format? Could this work for them? I really don't know. But like, there really was a certain very enjoyable purity about the whole thing. You know, just returning to the original format. I mean, yeah, like Sabrina Carpenter was perfect. The whole thing was a really good mix of like new and old songs. You know, like she's singing a song, but they made a perfect Muppet sketch out of it. You know, it's not just a person singing a song. You make a thing out of it. You make like a little, like a sketch. You make like kind of a story out of it, and you come up with like excuses to add in all of this visual stuff. Now there's chickens, and now there's a fan, and there's feathers all over the place, and she's beating up the guys in the bar. Like, they emulated the original format so perfectly. Just so perfectly. And then yeah, I will touch again, humor-wise. It was funny. Like, I mean, like, it was funny. Maybe I was expecting it to be a little bit funnier just based on what I had heard. Maybe I was expecting to laugh a little bit more, but I did laugh. And, you know, like, if you want to split all the Muppet productions over the years, you know, There were the ones that I thought were funny, and there were the ones where I kind of thought they were stinkers. I can confidently put this in the former category, you know? Like, I know it's a little bit harsh, but, like, it's true. It's like when it hits, it hits. And when it doesn't, it feels like whoever wrote the script just didn't really get it, then it ends up being very, very just kind of cringy and try hard. And, like, this was not that. You know, like, at its absolute worst, the jokes were, again, kind of like the original series, where it's just kind of like, I don't know, we need kind of a laugh in this moment. Make, like, a chicken joke or something, you know, something like that. But there were a lot of very, very funny jokes in there. I did laugh out loud a good number of times. Okay, actually, there's one thing I gotta say. Okay, the return of Muppet Labs, delightful. You see the clock on the wall. Oh, it's Muppet Labs. Oh, what did Dr. Honeydew with Beaker gonna get up to this time? So he gives him, like, attention serum and Beaker's eyes falling out, and then Beaker spewing infinite eyeballs out of the dark, gaping eye sockets. Not the direction I expected the sketch to go in. I also have to imagine that may have seemed a little bit funnier on paper. Cause, yeah, that was just kind of horrifying. Like, I mean, I like that the eyeballs became like a running bit and it like tied in with the Maya Rudolph thing, but like, no, that was just scary. Like, if I had kids, I don't think I would let them watch this. Like, the rest of the special is perfectly clean, appropriate, family friendly, great for everyone. That was nightmarish. Just shooting eyeballs forever out of these black gaping holes in his head. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that one landed the way they intended, but I don't know, whatever. He just have steam come out of his ears. Like, I mean, come on. It's easy. You make steam come out of his ears and you're good to go. So to know how I truly and ultimately feel, I probably will have to like let it process for a bit and probably watch it a couple more times. And, you know, we will have to also just kind of wait and see if this ends up leading anywhere. And if it does lead anywhere, if that where will remain a where. But in this moment, I can say they done good. They've done a really good job. They've been trying to recapture the magic of the Muppets for a very, very long time now. Pretty much since the death of Jim Henson, they've been trying to just make it work again. And again, they have had successes. They have done really great things. You know, the 2011 Disney's The Muppets, Muppets Most Wanted was really good. It wasn't super successful, but it was still very good. It had the spirit of the Muppets. The last 3 or 4 episodes of the ABC sitcom after they retooled it. You know, there have been little things over the years that have been good, that have done a pretty good job at capturing that spirit. But, I mean, you probably could argue that this is the best one just because it so faithfully recreated that original spirit. They did it well enough that, like, yeah, this might actually be the most, like, pure Muppet production that we have gotten in 30 plus years. At the very least, we can say that, like, Disney era Muppets, you know, since 2004 is when they bought the Muppets, and Jim Henson Company fully split from the Muppet brand. At least I can confidently say since then. You know, I really do like a lot of the modern stuff, but if you want to boil it down, this is probably it. This is probably the best and the most pure that the Muppets have been. So, Seth Rogen and all the other people involved in the production of this special, you did a heck of a job. You produced some real Muppet magic here, and I really, really hope that it leads to more.